It's me, Kayla Engeman, your fantasy girl, here to take you on my fantasy football journey this season as I try to win my league and prove that no one knows anything at all whatsoever about this game like they pretend to. And appearing so is just a, say it with me, fantasy. I'm so sorry that I haven't been putting these episodes out before the actual week starts. My plan was always to tape on Tuesdays and then put it out on Thursdays, but then I forgot that I have a full job. So I'm doing my best. Last week, I was at a steady 30% projected to win against Tyler. As I said, he was the previous champion of multiple leagues, dead loser last year. But this year, I went up against him, and he had a pretty steady lead. And then Monday night, all I needed was my Seahawks to come through against the Giants. My defense scored 30 points, which is crazy good. And Darren Waller, one of the best tight ends, or used to be, only scored 5 points. And then DK Metcalf, only 12 points. And Mommy took home another big-ass prize to her babies. I still haven't quite figured out this metaphor. This is week 5, or as previously discussed, Panic Week, because this is the game that separates the women from the girls. I'm currently 3-1 going up against Kenton, who is 2-2, and he's in my division. So that means if I win this week, I'm 4-1, and I have a really great margin between me and the rest of the pack. If I lose this week, I further push myself into the middle of the pack, and I am now matched with Kenton, who would then be 3-2 as well. And that can't happen. Kenton already played Thursday night. I'm recording this on Saturday night. This whole week has been all over the place in terms of recording. But he already has 53 points. I'm not projected to do that well. But as we've seen, projections don't matter. Our guest this week is, as I always say, my good friend, Brian MacDonald. But he is my good friend. He also went to Hofstra with the rest of me and my other friends, but he's not in that league. He is the commissioner and head of our work league because we also work together. Now, I've been going to Brian for fantasy football advice since the beginning, for years, because he's your quintessential football guy, just like Eric Ziwak, except Brian worked with a vendor company that worked for the NFL. Brian is part of the team, or used to be, that puts the yellow line on the field to designate where the first down needs to be. You'll hear Allie freak out about this later. And it's so funny because Brian is the most humble man. He's like, don't listen to my advice. I'm actually not that good. But he's always right, or mostly always right. And he's just so goddamn kind about it. So I cannot wait for you to hear what he has to say. Let's welcome him on this show. Wow, I'm never this nice.
Allie, how are you?
I'm good. I am actually, best thing right now is that I am the last remaining undefeated person in our league.
Oh my God. That
She's
rocks.
4-0.
That's insane. Just that you're
baby.
you're undefeated even 4 straight games. Like everyone's so even, and like there's no clear-cut winner in any of them. So
It's the Justin Jefferson effect.
I'll be totally honest. I am doing really bad in like most of my leagues. And like I'm 2-2 in my best league, and I'm 0-4 in my worst, and I think I'm 1-3 in the one that Kayla and I are in for work.
Wait a minute.
That's a lot to keep track of.
How many leagues are you in?
I'm in 3, and only because this work one was like put together last minute. This is also my first year commissioning ever for anything.
Yeah, what are some unexpected trials and tribulations of being a commissioner?
People getting butthurt about not wanting to do a punishment for having the least amount of points. I don't know.
Per week.
Well, yeah, that's something I didn't think about. And so a couple people had suggested it, and I liked it. And I was like, yeah, you have to chug a beer or something. It's something simple. Or you have to buy the person that had the most amount of points a beer.
I'm so bad in our work league.
Me too. I drafted the wrong quarterbacks. I drafted Joe Burrow. I've been trying to stick with Joe Burrow, and I thought he was going to come around, but he's not. So
This is
It's just,
upsetting for me because you give me the best advice year after year, and now you suck and I rock.
I kind of have always like been average though, but sometimes I overthink it. There's a lot of tinkering involved. The wide receivers, having 3 wide receivers as starters in a league makes for a lot of tinkering too. That's it.
Oh, yeah. And then in our work league, we have OP. I don't even know what that is, but basically we can have a second quarterback.
Interesting.
It throws a wrench into things. I like the curveball. It's the second league that I'm in that has a 2QB situation where like you can flex them or you can put someone else in, but the obvious answer is usually to take a QB. But most like these days, everyone's throwing interceptions, and we actually made it to where you lose 3 points for every interception, just so it can be like, hey, it's actually a little tricky if you have to put a QB in there. It may not always be a QB, and maybe it's someone like that's really good that you could put in the flex. But most of the time, it's a QB.
It was so much so that Brian pulled me aside at work and was like, listen to me, you have to put a QB in your OP spot or you're going to lose.
You were struggling, and then you struggled. You got Kenny Pickett, right?
Yeah, I just put in a waiver for Justin Fields today, dropped Pickett.
This is awkward because I also did. But
I'm sure everyone has.
You had the least amount of points, so I think you're first on the waiver, so I think you're going to get them.
This is complicated because we can talk about our work league, but what I really need from you is advice about the league that I'm currently 3-1 in, because my pride is heavily invested in that league, and in the work league, kind of don't know half those guys. If they want to talk shit, I already went up to one of them in the cafe and I whispered in his ear, I was like, sucks to suck. And he was like with his bosses.
What?
I was like,
oh my God.
Oh, they don't know that I'm in a league. Yeah. Chris Higgins was with Judah and Craig, and I went, sucks to suck.
But that's so funny. I think that's great. Yeah. Made me think it was other people. I was just like, I feel like if it's going to happen around anyone, it's good that it's around those two. Greg doesn't give 2 shits about football. We were watching it on Sunday during work, and he was like, I can't believe you're doing this. All I wanted to do was watch Star Wars today, and you wanted to watch football? I'm like, yeah, I do.
Anyone who makes plans on a Sunday and it's not about football and they invite someone who does watch football, it's like, are you fucking stupid? Don't you know this is what we're doing?
Is nothing sacred?
First of all, what is going on with all the tight ends? Everyone sucks. I have George Kittle, and he keeps doing diddly.
Yes, he does. I was concerned about drafting him from the start because I really thought he was like not injury prone. He's like getting up there. He's kind of older, but he should be able to still run routes. But another thing, though, the 49ers have so many weapons. Like, they can only give the ball to George Kittle so many times. They got Debo, who barely did anything, and that ruined me last week. Brandon Ayuk is the next best option, and if you have, like, a backup cornerback on him, like, he'll smoke you all the time. Then there's Kittle. Then Christian McCaffrey. He's, like, taking up all the time, too. You know, and when he's not in the backfield, he's catching the ball, too. It's the truth. I have Dallas Goedert in another league, and he's doing nothing either because that's another team, the Eagles, that have so many different freaking weapons too. So
I had Dallas Goedert last year, and he was the best.
He was so good.
I was mad when I didn't get him this year, but worked out. I freaking had Cole Kmet benched this last week because the Bears are terrible. Benched him, played Zach Ertz, and Kmet got like 27 points.
What?
Yeah, that's like the main reason why I kept in Joe Burrow, because I was like, he's going to go off immediately when I bench him. And it hasn't happened yet. So, but yeah, Cole Kmet.
Happens to me every week. Every week.
Yeah, still undefeated.
My bench outperforms, still undefeated.
Still undefeated.
So who do I pick up as a tight end? Should I get rid of Kittle? Because is he weighing me down?
I don't think you should get rid of Kittle because he might eventually like come around. Do you have a backup tight end?
No, but I put in a waiver for the Miami tight end Smythe.
Possibly. Yeah, that wouldn't be so bad.
They're playing the Giants, so I'm like, that might be a sure thing.
A good option to consider is someone that has been really bad for the past few years because he didn't fit in the system, but he's been kind of balling out for the Falcons, is Jonnu Smith.
He's available.
He's not the top tight end. Like, everyone's going to cover Kyle Pitts. But because of that, Jonnu Smith has become a good option in that offense. He's been developing pretty well. I wouldn't drop George Kittle for him, but I would definitely consider taking Jonnu Smith as like a low risk situation. Like, as far as drop someone that is low risk and just you don't care about. Unless you care about everyone on your team, then you're a very caring manager.
No, I don't. When I wake up tomorrow and I see if my waiver went through for Mr. Smith, and then I'm putting in a waiver for the Dolphins defense because the Seahawks are on bye, and I just, who are they playing? Oh yeah, they're playing the Giants. I'm just like, anyone who's playing the Giants, put them on my roster.
The Dolphins defense is hot and cold. They also know they have a really good offense, so they can just, I don't know. I wouldn't pick up the Dolphins defense in any way. I'm currently looking at the Lions defense, but
that's available too.
To each his own, though. The Lions are on the up and up. They got a good offense and they got a good defense.
I actually do have some questions that have been passed along from some listeners.
No way. Okay, because listen, Brian used to work for the NFL.
I did.
What?
In a past life.
You buried the lead, Brian.
Oh, sure. Do you want me to explain here?
Mm-hmm.
So yes. I worked for a vendor, and their main claim to fame is that they work the virtual yellow line for a first down, like augmented reality department for like different broadcasts for CBS, NBC. So I did that for 2 years for NBC, 2 years for CBS, and worked 2 Super Bowls. But it was with the vendor in conjunction with those networks. But yeah, lots of traveling on the road.
You were the yellow line guy.
It was like the most fun thing I've ever done. Yes.
And didn't you post the other day that the yellow line had its 25th anniversary of its birth?
It started out, 98? And it just like debuted on like a Monday Night Football game or a Sunday Night Football game. I think like John Madden like did this intro being like, look at this thing. I mean, clearly I wasn't doing it back then. What was I, like 6 years old? 6 years old. But yeah, a lot of secrets behind that yellow line. Can't say I'm here, sorry.
Ooh.
But a fun time, great crew. But I was following it hard because we were there all the time. And like, if we did the night game, if we did Sunday night, we had our rehearsals during the day, but like in between, we'd be watching the games.
I feel like I'm in the presence of like a celebrity.
You are?
Yeah, but it stressed me out so much. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. So like what is happening during a game when you're putting the line there? Like, do you have to be listening to know like exactly where to put it?
Basically in between plays, like once a play ends, you kind of have a spotter or you're looking yourself and you're following the referee or the line judge that is handling the ball. So you're trying to make sure exactly where they are putting it just on the field. And then they'll say like the yard line, and the spotter will be like, put it there on that yard line. So we do it, we fade it in. And before it like goes to air, we kind of do a little bit of tinkering like I do in my fantasy league. And because each camera kind of has like an offset in a way, like it's not perfect, just the way that like the lens kind of reads it. And so for each camera, like, it's just like, okay, you got to do like 2 clicks left or 2 clicks right, because it's not fully like in the exact place you want it. So every single camera kind of has an offset for that exact yard line. And you just try to follow along and go from there. And you don't do anything during the play. You just kind of focus. And the main thing is like, if there's a turnover, like if there's a fumble and the other team gets it, you fade that out right away.
So you really have to know the game to be able to do that. In
a way, yeah. You have to at least have like a general understanding, just following along. So a lot of button clicking, though. You are correct. A lot of mouse clicking. So
interesting.
It's just a computer.
What's the best stadium?
Ooh, good question.
I really like...
If you say Gillette, I will drive to Astoria and punch you in the face.
It's not Gillette. It's not Gillette because they have the craziest security, like the most unnecessary security. I really like to go in a Lambeau Field That place is pretty chill because it's just a bunch of houses, like a lot of other places that aren't like in a city. It's just like you're in a neighborhood and then suddenly you're like at Lambeau Field. Just kind of odd. Arrowhead Stadium's cool too, I have to say. We also were there a lot though, because then Mahomes had started out the last 2 years that I had worked. That's when he started being the starter there for the Chiefs. But they were always like in the thick of it. So we had a lot of trips to Kansas City, and the atmosphere there is kind of wild.
Why?
Passionate fans.
No way.
Yeah, yes way, of course. Passionate and now bandwagon fans trying to get to Arrowhead for other reasons.
Can't even talk about this right now.
That was about to be my next question.
No.
Do you have any high-level thoughts about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce?
You know, the memes are mostly great, but watching last Sunday's game against the Jets, you know, I thought they could have like had more Taylor Swift references. They kind of held their own, but at the same time, every time I went to it, I was like, guys, let's just get back. It's actually a game. Like the Jets are contending. This is close. Let's get back to the game. And they did. I give them credit. I think the broadcast did a good job, like not referencing them all the time. But I can tell it's just everyone's latching onto it. I want to believe the conspiracy theory that her Eagles fandom is actually a way of infiltrating the Chiefs offense. So in case like they actually meet in the Super Bowl again, the Chiefs and the Eagles, that she's just going to dump them like right before the Super Bowl. And it's going to ruin everything.
I saw today a theory that I love about why she went to the Jets game, because now when you Google Taylor Swift Jets, what doesn't come up is her private flight emissions. What comes up is her relationship with Travis Kelce. So it's all business. And you know what? It's great. A like PR relationship is a wonderful return to form for American pop culture. It reminds me of simpler times. We've had so many crises and like fucked up political shit happening. And just the fact that we're like all going to die in the next 10 years, like this is like a nice little treat.
It's a great distraction.
And that's what I think about it. It's a lovely distraction. It's candy. It has no nutritional value, but you know what? It's fun.
I'm terrified. People are going to think that I'm a goddamn Swiftie.
No, she's a Swiftie. She loved Travis Kelce the moment Taylor Swift started dating him.
Allie's been torturing me like this.
Amazing.
The second that she showed up in the freaking box next to Donna Kelce, I was like, everyone already calls me a bandwagoner, and now everyone is going to be like, you're a Swiftie. And I want to gouge my eyes out because this has nothing to do with anybody except for me. I am not a Swiftie. I'm a Patrick Mahomes fan. I don't care about Travis Kelce. Allie, ask this man the listener questions.
Oh, yeah. So the people are wondering.
No, I'm wondering what the people are wondering.
The people want to know.
All right. So the people are wondering, what do you do when a key player on your team, say an Aaron Rodgers or a good playmaker, someone who like scores a lot, gets a lot of passes? What do you do when a key player gets hurt? How long do you wait to see if the team can figure it out? Do you cut your losses? What do you do?
My immediate thought is to scavenge the waiver wire immediately. Like, is there someone that could possibly fill any type of that void in any way? Now, that being said, I don't think the idea is to just pick up Zach Wilson, which I'm sure a lot of people did for when Aaron Rodgers went down. I mean, even last week, like, I did not have Mike Williams on any team, but like that guy's a stud and he catches a lot of passes for TDs, but like he went down and you're like, who's the next person up? There's two people that kind of jumped into my mind. One of them is Josh Palmer, who had a good first couple of years. And Quentin Johnson was another one. It's just like you look at that waiver wire as an option. And that's also kind of the reason, if it's like a running back, like that's why people handcuff, like get that second running back or second wide receiver for that team in case someone goes down. It's like next person up, being that WR1 or RB1. That would be my first thought. The other thing is like, do you have enough assets around and you kind of consider making a trade if you feel like you really need to fill that void with someone that you know is like a top guy? Trading's always an option too. And a lot of people will come to you first being like, hey, I see that your QB's down. How about we do a trade? And they might try to take advantage of you there.
I know nothing about it.
Oh, yeah? Do you tell?
Are there more questions?
Who are your player like hot takes on any particular position? But let's focus on wide receivers and running backs.
That's a hard question because I don't know if my takes are necessarily hot. They might just be lukewarm. Where like, you know, if you feel like if a WR2 on a team, like if the second wide receiver is like a stud and they have like a stud QB, go for it and take them. Like if T Higgins is out there and like we knew if Joe Burrow was like really good, take him in the second round, take him in the third round, you know, start him. I took Michael Thomas and I traded for Michael Thomas already. And I was just like, you know what? The Saints are a reasonable team. They got a balanced offense. Now that Alvin Kamara's back, take him. Chris Olave might get most of the targets, but Michael Thomas is still a reasonable option. And he's the guy that kind of falls under the radar. Like anyone like that can fall under the radar just because he's been hurt a couple years and still maybe come back. Like there's a chance. Like last year, Michael Thomas didn't have the coming out party that he probably wanted. So now this is just kind of another year for like that opportunity. So WR2s, don't sleep on them, especially for mediocre, like middle of the pack teams. Kind of a lukewarm take, I'd say.
But a very good take and very sound advice.
Do you have questions about your lineup? Do you need any other waivers?
I think I'm all set. I'm just worried about Kirk Cousins going up against the Kansas City Chiefs and seeing my two boys fight.
Oh, he is so hot and cold. Oh my gosh, that Kirk Cousins is kind of a mess in a way.
I know.
He just throws up the ball and he's like, Justin Jefferson, please take it. KJ Osborne, please.
I have KJ Osborne on my bench.
Who else? Yes, TJ Hawkinson is a Viking now, right? Jeez. He's great. He's great too. He's a stud.
And Cam Akers.
That was one of my big because Cam Akers is yeah. Maybe he just didn't fit in with the Rams. He must not have.
Awful as in he's another bad boy, or he's just not good?
He hasn't proven himself. Maybe this is an opportunity.
All right, speed round. You have 1 minute. Do I play Cole Kmet on the Bears, or do I play Zach Ertz on the Cardinals?
Who are the Cardinals facing?
They are facing... No.
Zach Ertz. Maybe Cole Kmet. I don't know. That's a tough one.
Oh, they're playing the Bengals.
Zach Ertz. I'd play Zach Ertz.
Really?
I think so. I don't know who the Bears are playing, but I feel like Zach Ertz has an opportunity there. Josh Dobbs has proved that he's a capable quarterback.
All right.
Don't sleep on the Cardinals' weapons.
I will follow up on this next week.
Andrew, what the fuck happened to you last week?
I lost last week by almost 100 points because John scored about 220 points, and yeah, wasn't much I could do about that.
Oh my.
Yeah, it was a shellacking, but moving on, onward and upward.
What's the recon for this week?
What do you mean?
Like, how are you going to prevent that shit show from happening again?
You can't do anything. It's just bad timing. It's just nothing you can really do except try to put together the best roster you can. My team did pretty good last week. I just didn't score 200 points. So, yeah.
The work league that we have.
The Bizarro League?
The Bizarro League.
Is it Bizarro? It is. Yeah.
How are you doing in that league? How are you faring?
I actually don't know. I
know you had one really good win. I think you're 2-2. Let me see.
That sounds right.
You are 2-2.
Oh my gosh, I'm in 7th out of 10th. That's not good.
The middle of the pack is heavy. I'm seeing. I am below. Like I'm 1-3. I'm not good. So don't listen to me for any advice whatsoever.
So humble. That's why I want to.
The results are not. They're not great so far, but it's because I've started Joe Burrow.
Also, Andrew, in our work league, the loser has to do a punishment every week, like the person with the lowest scoring points. So this past week, I kept Mike Williams in by accident. the app glitched, and so now I have to chug a beer?
You have to. It's kind of just wishy-washy at this point. I mean, is chugging a beer really a punishment?
Yes.
I suppose, but like you don't have to do it immediately. It's like you stack them up to the end. So yes, you have 2.
I have 2?
Yeah, you had the least amount of points 2 weeks out of 4. You have. I had to go back and double check. So I have 1.
I have to get my shit together. How does 1 chug? Because I can't even chug water.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. We were on the same Great American Challenge team.
That's a good point. Also, yikes. Shots fired. But you just go as fast as you can. You do your best. You open up the esophagus. You just let it pour. And you just see what happens.
That's why we lost, because Kayla just did her best. So you got to do better than that. Pretend like it's all mental. Pretend like you've been poisoned and the beer is the antidote and you need to get it in your system as quickly as possible.
I'm not really worried about the beverage because, like, when I was sick last week, people were like, you got to chug water. And I'm like, I can't chug. I don't know what it is. It's like, it's no matter what the beverage is, I can't chug. I mean, maybe I'll start with something like soup.
That's a bad idea.
As commissioner, I would like to enforce it. I would, but I have a good idea that it probably will not be enforced just because everyone's just like
the soup
shambles.
You mean in Campbell's is what you meant?
Yes. Okay. Sure.
Is Kayla going to grab some soup?
Yeah, what could possibly is that what?
Wait a minute. I ordered sushi 10 minutes ago. How the fuck is it here?
Does it come with miso soup?
No.
Oh, well.
But that is the soup I would chug. If you want for our league, I can be the enforcer. If you want to be the commissioner, I'll be the enforcer, and I'll be the one who ensures that on punishment day, everyone does what they have to do.
I think that would be great.
I'll have an air horn, and if you don't chug, or at least try.
An air horn would be nice.
What'd you say, Andrew?
I was saying how much I like the idea of the weekly punishments, and maybe we can implement that in our league at some point.
Yeah, is it too late? We have a very regimented voting system for rules.
We do. It probably is too late at this point. Might have to be a next year edition, but why should only one person get to be embarrassed and punished when I think everyone should have the chance?
Everyone should have that.
Be made a fool and chug soup.
They should chug soup.
It would probably be way more personal and psychological of a punishment if I know these people.
Now, the next thing is, can they choose the soup, or does the commissioner choose, or does the top point winner of the week choose the soup that they have to? And broccoli cheddar is off limits. That's too thick. And clam chowder.
No chunkies.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
Only broths.
No chowders or stews?
No chowders, no stews, no chilies, nothing with lentils. But in a lot of other leagues, the loser buys the winner something, like a beer.
Yeah.
So I think that would be, except sometimes the people in our league were not together enough. So I like that you're banking a punishment on punishment day, and everyone does a punishment together. I've been known for bullying Matt, so when we get off this call, I'll call him 3 times in a row, make him think something's really wrong, and then when he answers, be like, hey, here's an idea.
That's logical.
Thank you both for your time, and I'll see you next fucking Friday at the Halloween party. I'm so fucking excited.
Oh, yes, my parts of my costume are coming in now.
What are you going to be?
We'll see.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Good night.
Is this the Halloween episode?
This is the Christmas episode.
Oh, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Well, when you hear from me next week, you'll either hear a sweet, sweet voice that is jumping for joy, or you'll either hear me sobbing uncontrollably, wailing and pounding my fists on the ground. Because if I win, it's going to put me in a place where I feel very secure. And if I lose, not only will I then be tied with Kenton, I will have handed him the game that ties us and puts me at exactly his level in the division. And like I said before, that can't happen. I'd like to thank Brian for coming onto this episode and Andrew for coming back and behaving himself in front of the audience. And I also want you to know that you can follow Brian's Instagram account, Brian Brackets. He has a bracket every month for a different category. This month it's currently pasta shapes, and you can vote. And it's just one of these wonderful little things that takes your mind off the world and losing to Kenton potentially, if you need that little bit of stress relief. It's very fun. You can follow him on Instagram at Brian Brackets. We're getting to the end zone here, so thank you for being a part of my fantasy, and I'll see you in week 6.